Welcome to Fan for Racing Radio. I am Fan for Racing Sharon, and joining me today is Jay Huseman. And today we are going to do the Texas preview for the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Welcome to the show, Jay.
Thank you, Sharon. And with the NASCAR Series, it's not a two-step, it's a three-step, as we got all three of NASCAR's top series running this weekend. So be the NASCAR three-step.
I love those weekends. And then Arca East is also racing out at Nashville Fairgrounds this weekend. So a lot of great racing to watch this weekend. Now, the NASCAR Xfinity Series race, well, that's going to be Andy's Frozen Custard 300 at Texas Motor Speedway. Again, it's a 1.5-mile asphalt oval, and they'll be racing Saturday, May the 3rd, starting at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. CW, the home of the NASCAR Xfinity Series, will start their pre-race coverage at 1:30 p.m. Eastern, and radio coverage is on PRN and Sirius XM NASCAR Channel 90. They'll race a distance of 300 miles over 200 laps. Stage 1 ends on lap 45. Stage 2 is also 45 laps, but ends on lap 90. And then the final stage is 110 laps, ending on the last lap, lap 200. So they are going to have practice and Continental pole qualifying on Friday, May the 2nd. You'll be able to watch that on the CW app starting at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And then Saturday, May the 3rd, is the race. Earlier in the day, there is practice in Busch Light pole qualifying also for the Cup Series. That'll take place on Amazon Prime, PRN, and Sirius XM Channel 90 starting at 11 a.m. if you're interested in keeping your eye on what's happening there. We do have a preview coming up for the Cup Series. But, Jay, I know you've been checking out the entry list. What do we have to look forward to there?
Well, we're going to have a full field and a couple of disappointed drivers when it comes to the Xfinity Series, as the Andy's Frozen Custard 300 entry list for the Xfinity Series has 40 drivers and teams listed, so 2 will miss the race. Some notables to make mention of: the number 07 is going to be Nick Lights. The number 17 Hendrick Motorsports machine will be Corey Day. Riley Herbst's returning. He's going to be in the number 19. That is a Joe Gibbs Racing machine. And then the number 32 will be Catherine Legg. The number 35 is Joey Gase. The 45, Mason Massey. The 53 is Mason Maggio. The number 70, Leland Honeyman Jr. In the number 74 will be Dawson Cram. The number 91, Josh Balicki. And the number 92 is CJ McLaughlin. So qualifying is definitely going to be a factor. It's going to determine 2 drivers' fate here going into Saturday.
Okay, so something to definitely be aware of with some different drivers in the lineup this week.
And there's definitely a lot of history here at Texas Motor Speedway. Not quite as long as the Truck Series, but this Saturday's event will mark the 47th NASCAR Xfinity Series race at Texas Motor Speedway. They've raced every season since 1997. And this is the 15th race since the reconfiguration. Remember, Texas got reconfigured.
Okay, now Harrison Burton in 2021, Sam Mayer in 2024 are the only past Texas winners in the field this weekend. So there's 2 drivers already for you to keep your eye on for this weekend's race.
And it would be big wins for either one of them because they are with different teams currently. So that will definitely be an interesting storyline to watch. Now, we have had 8 different drivers won in the last 9 Texas races. And John Hunter Nemechek is the only repeat winner, but he's not entered this weekend.
Okay. Also, Sam Mayer, he won last year's Texas race by a very close margin. It was 0.02 of a second over Ryan Sieg. That was the second close finish in Xfinity Series history. I remember that race. That was an exciting race.
It was, and that is one of those, as somebody that likes to root for kind of the underdog, heartbreaking for Ryan Sieg. I know They replayed that a couple weeks ago. That still just breaks my heart for him.
It does.
Now, 3 of the last 11 Texas Motor Speedway Xfinity Series races have finished with a last lap pass for the win. So look for that possibility. It's not even 50-50, but we have had a few at Texas.
All right. Now, Austin Hill is probably the hottest driver in the Xfinity Series so far this season. He won a record 9th drafting track race at Talladega last weekend. That puts him in elite territory.
It certainly does. And his 13 career wins leads all drivers since he's moved to the Xfinity Series in 2022.
Also, Matt DiBenedetto, 5th, Blaine Perkins, 7th, both had their career best finishes last week at Talladega. I was really happy for Blaine Perkins. I know how hard he's been working, and he finally had a little bit of a breakthrough last weekend with that finish. But it was a great finish for Matt DiBenedetto as well.
And hopefully they can continue that momentum into this weekend at Texas. Now, this weekend's race will be the last of a 12 consecutive weeks of racing before the Xfinity Series takes a 2-week break. We talked about the Truck Series. They've had their fun. They got to go to work now. The Xfinity Series has been at it for 12 straight weeks.
Wow. So they're ready for a break. Texas is the only 1.5-mile track with different banking at each end of the track. In turns 1 and 2, it's a 20-degree banking, and in turns 3 and 4, it's 24 degrees. That doesn't sound like much, but it is a difference when you're talking about the setup of your car and setting it up to race at these kind of venues. It's very difficult to set it for both situations.
It most certainly is, and it has brought about some havoc, though, as since the reconfiguration, only Daytona at 134 has had more cautions than Texas, which is at 130.
Wow, that's amazing. Only 4 of the 46 previous Texas Xfinity Series races have ended in an overtime. So, wow, that doesn't bode well for an overtime this weekend.
Certainly not. Generally, we see it's one driver that really has it figured out and just kind of runs away from them. But we also saw that 0.002 second victory there last year. So we know all things are possible, but the odds are not in favor of that.
Correct.
Now, 10 drivers on the entry list this weekend have never made an Xfinity Series start at Texas Motor Speedway. So that adds a layer of intrigue. I'll put it that way.
And unknown, because they don't know what that track is like. The other drivers don't know how they're going to race it. So it adds an element of the unknown for sure. 7 drivers on the entry list never made a start at Texas in any series. Okay, so 3 of those drivers have raced at Texas, but maybe not in the Xfinity Series.
Yeah, that makes it even more interesting.
Yes, it does.
Well, I can't believe it's taken this long, but we're going to talk about one particular driver. And 13 of the last 16 races have been won by drivers under the age of 30. Kyle Busch has won the other 3.
There you go. Kyle Busch is pretty good on the 1.5-mile tracks. Okay. Of the 5 drivers that claimed their first career Xfinity Series win at Texas, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in 1998 and Chase Elliott in 2014, both went on to win the championship that same season. So that would be something to watch for this weekend. Whoever wins could be a potential championship contender.
I'd try and take it one step further if it's Carson Cavapel, because that would keep it within the junior motorsports realm, if you will. So
there you go. Yes.
Now moving on to Sammy Smith. He's got a 5.5 average finish, and that's the 5th best at Texas all time among drivers with multiple starts.
All right. Justin Allgaier won the last 4 stages at Texas. His 6 stage wins at Texas lead all other drivers. So that's pretty impressive.
And Austin Hill, he's finished inside the top 10 in 4 straight Texas races. and that's currently the longest active streak.
All right, let's talk a little bit about Joe Gibbs Racing. He won the last six of the last 10 Texas races with 4 different drivers.
Well, we're going to talk more than a little bit about JGR because they need 97 laps now to reach the 3,000 mark all time at Texas.
Wow. Now, Joe Gibbs Racing's 17 Texas wins are second most by a team at a single track. JGR won 18 times at Phoenix as well. So can they get that 18th win at Texas this weekend?
Well, and that's where Riley Herbst is coming back to them this weekend.
Yep.
So look for him to be one of those that might add to those stats. Now, Texas is the third of 6 races on 1.5-mile tracks this season here in the Xfinity Series.
Justin Allgaier won both races this season on 1.5-mile tracks. He won at Las Vegas as well as Miami. So we know Justin Allgaier is good. He's had a little bit of a rough run here the last couple of weeks. He might be right back on track here at Texas.
And the 1.5 miles are the bread and butter, if you will, and take some experience, as the last 5 races on 1.5-mile tracks were won by drivers over the age of 30. So takes a little bit of experience and know-how.
It does indeed. Now, Chevrolet won 6 of the last 7 races on 1.5-mile tracks.
And unfortunately, when it comes to Ford, their stats aren't good on the 1.5s, as they have only won 1 of the last 31 races on 1.5-mile tracks, and that was Riley Herbst at Las Vegas in, October of 2023.
You know, that makes his win there even more impressive, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah. Okay, now Sheldon Creed, Jesse Love, and Austin Hill, they finished in the top 10 in 5 straight races on 1.5-mile tracks. All 3 of those drivers you can never count out.
Well, and the good thing there is Sheldon Creed is now in a Ford, so we'll see if he can break that second place barrier and pick up a victory. Now, when we look at the playoffs, we already have 6 of 12 playoff spots filled after 11 races, and that's just the second time in series history.
Okay, the first 5 drivers below the cutoff are all rookies. We talked about this last week, Jay. Daniel Dye holds the first spot outside the cutoff line. He's down 9 points back from Harrison Burton, who has that final playoff spot in 12th place.
It certainly is a rookie pack there. We'll talk about that a little bit later. I'm going to do a kind of a rundown of the point standings. But now only 3 drivers have gained points on the playoff cut line at Talladega. So there wasn't a whole lot of movement when it came to the points.
No, indeed. Sammy Smith was running at the finish of 34 straight races dating back to April 26th of last year. So for the past year, he's been running at the finish in those 34 straight races. That's pretty cool.
And that's what you got to do, be running. And I heard this during the broadcast for the Xfinity Series. Catherine Legg became the 4th female driver to lead a lap in Xfinity Series history. Danica Patrick leads that with 66. Patty Moise, who was for a long time one of the only female drivers, has led 22. Natalie Decker, 7. And now Catherine Legg, 1.
And you know what's interesting is that she said that doesn't really count in her mind because it was during a pit stop cycle.
Right.
So she said, oh, that doesn't really count. So it's kind of interesting. Legg is making her 3rd start of the 25 Xfinity Series season this weekend and her first on a 1.5-mile track in the series. So we'll see if that's her forte.
Well, hopefully so. And I know she's getting lots of experience with all the racing she's doing right now.
Yes, she is.
We talked about the point standings. Right now, Justin Allgaier leads the driver standings by a good gap, 79 points. That's over a full race. He is over 2nd place, and then 102 points over 3rd. He has been up front and on point almost all year.
Okay, well, you heard of Heim time in the Truck Series. This is Allgaier time in the Xfinity Series. Allgaier leads all drivers with 8 top 5s and 7 top 10 finishes so far this season.
And his 8 top 5 finishes in 2025 are his most ever after 11 races into a season.
And he is 10 top 10s away from being the first driver to reach 300. So there's a milestone to watch for Justin Allgaier.
Oh, and 10 more within the year. That could be easily reached by the end of this year, no doubt.
Yes.
Speaking of reaching milestones, Joe Gibbs Racing is looking to reach one as well, as they are 1 pole away from 200, and they are the only team with even a 100 poles. So doesn't even give the gap next to the next person, but they have 1 more to get 200.
Wow. Also, Junior Motorsports is 8 wins away from 100. Only 3 other teams have won at least 100 races in the Xfinity Series. And we've talked about this. Joe Gibbs Racing sitting at 217. Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing sitting at 138. And then, of course, Richard Childress Racing hit that 100 mark this season.
Now, Kyle Larson, this is really interesting, tells you the driver that Kyle Larson is. He leads all drivers in laps led in 2025 with 408, and that's despite making only 2 Xfinity Series starts. That is domination.
That is definitely domination. All right, Daniel Dye, well, he's the only driver to finish inside the top 20 in the last 10 races. The only driver. That's incredible.
It is, and he's at the front of that rookie pack we'll talk about here in just a few minutes. Now, Sam Mayer is the only driver to finish in the top 15 in 9 of the 11 races so far this season.
And 4 races this year have ended with a last lap pass for the win. So we'll see. It could happen.
And here in the Xfinity Series, it's about 50-50. 5 of the 11 races this season have gone to overtime. So whether or not that happens this weekend at Texas, it doesn't seem to be a big thing to happen at Texas, but the Xfinity Series seems to make it happen.
A lot of talent there. Okay, now there's 3 crew chiefs that got their first Xfinity Series win in 2025 so far. Adam Wall, he got his win at Bristol. Sam McAuley at Darlington, and Chad Haney at Atlanta. So congratulations to those 3 crew chiefs.
And following up on the Kyle Larson deal, he falls under the Chevrolet category. Chevrolet has led 1,571 of the 2,035 laps this season. That's about 75%, roughly, doing the math.
Wow, that's amazing. Also, Alpha Prime had 3 top 5 finishes in the last 5 races. The team only had 2 career top 5s entering this season. So pretty cool for Alpha Prime. But do you have a favorite for this weekend?
Oh, Texas is a tough one to me. I mean, obviously, you got to look at some of the top runners of Justin Allgaier. I know Jesse Love is getting some extra seat this time, as he's going to have a Cup Series start. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to pull so hard. Talked about that underdog. Not necessarily an underdog, but Sheldon Creed. For Ford to break the streak and get a win, Sheldon to get past second and get a victory, I'm going to go with Sheldon Creed.
All right. I really like that Riley Herbst is back in the Xfinity Series. I think he was starting to kind of find his legs, if you will, in the Xfinity Series and having some really good runs. This is another 1.5-mile track. I think he may be one to watch this weekend. But I'm going to go with our mainstay, Justin Allgaier.
Well, how about this? We pull one from the rookies. And I know we already got Connor Zilic that has gotten a victory, but Carson Kavapel won from Junior Motorsports I mentioned. But then I mentioned that looking at the points just outside the cut line. You got Daniel Dye, Nick Sanchez, Taylor Gray, Dean Thompson, and Christian Eckes all bunched together there. And I hate to have to say it, William Sawalich is not with that pack. He is, 28th in points. But seeing one of those pull off the victory, as you mentioned, getting their first career win, I'd have to go with, that's a tough one. I'd say Nick Sanchez or Christian Eckes. Maybe Carson Cavapel based off of it being junior motorsports, though.
You and I are right on the same wavelength there. Those would be the top three I would pick, because what we've been seeing is that half of the rookies finish well, the other half tend to finish mid-pack to not so well. And those would be the three I would pick. Nick Sanchez. I would probably go in the order of Nick Sanchez, Carson Cavapel, and Christian Eckes. I like Christian Eckes. I just think he's a little raw right now, but he is going to improve as the season progresses. And when he does, watch out. He's going to be hot.
And the track kind of favors Chevrolet. If we were talking to bring Toyota into the mix, Taylor Gray, and I do think of all the ones I would almost guarantee getting a win this year, because he almost had one, should have had one. Taylor Gray already been in that position, but I don't think it comes here at Texas. I really don't.
Is he a rookie?
Taylor Gray in the Xfinity series, yes.
Okay, they're not showing it on this particular chart that I'm looking at. I was looking at the qualifying order. So, and they don't have him listed as a rookie, which is interesting.
Yeah, because he's right in the middle of that pack. You got Daniel Dye, Nick Sanchez, Taylor Gray, Dean Thompson, and then Christian Eckes.
Yep. Okay, well, and there's a lot of drivers that could come up with a victory, at a track like this. You've got Jesse Love, you mentioned him, Harrison Burton. There's just so many drivers to keep your eye on. And they're talking about how many different races with a different winner. We could see a first-time winner at Texas Motor Speedway too.
Tell you what, I know I kind of went with Sheldon Creed for the redeeming of a victory and not second. How about Ryan Sieg actually getting the win? If he can bring back that same type of car, man, that would be amazing. I would be all for that.
That would be amazing, and that would be a lot of fun to watch. So fans, you're definitely going to want to stay tuned for what happens with the NASCAR Xfinity Series at Texas Motor Speedway. We've also given you the preview for the NASCAR Truck Series. We have yet to do the Cup Series, but it's coming up soon. And also keep in mind, there is a race for the ARCA East Series this weekend at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. So we will be giving you the preview for that as well. So do watch for more coming from Panther Racing Radio. When the weekend's over, we'll be back at it on Monday with all of our reviews and also our Hot Topic Sound Off, where we talk about all the hottest topics that are happening in our NASCAR world. So there's always something to talk about after race weekend, Jay.
Most certainly. Most certainly. It doesn't seem to matter where it's at. If nothing else, again, teammates a little upset with each other and saying not so nice things. Doesn't matter. There's always something.
Well, we'll have our live stream starting at 10 o'clock Eastern Time, 9 o'clock Central, and 7 o'clock Pacific Time. So we hope you'll tune in and join us in our Hot Topic conversation. So I do want to say thank you to everybody for tuning in. This is our preview, unless you have something more that you wanted to mention, Jay.
No, I think we've pretty much covered here.
Okay, then definitely looking forward to the Xfinity Series race this weekend on Saturday. But we really appreciate you tuning in to hear what we have to say about the upcoming races and our previews as well as our reviews. So take care, everybody, and I guess we'll see you in our next video.